Alright guys, I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 2 of my Lyrical Monasterio Clarissa Earnest Correct deck. So version 2 is of course everything through the additional special set, so through Festival Booster 2023 for this deck, which, like the other first round Lyrical bosses, she has received her new DressUp form. And overall, the update for this deck is actually similar to the update that Clarissa got, in that this deck is now a lot more consistent in being able to get its combo pieces that you need every turn. And this deck can do up to 5 attacks in one turn now, as well, thanks to one of our new rear guards. So overall, a pretty nice upgrade. So as always, we'll be going through the deck, and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with the ride deck, we of course have our grade 0 starter, which is Dignified Will Clarissa. So when she's rode upon, if you want second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter, like always. Next for the grade 1, we have Serious Challenger Clarissa. So she has her auto ability that says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Dignified Will Clarissa, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, and choose up to one grade 1 or less card with Earnest Correct and its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle the rest, and put them on the bottom of your deck. So just potentially a free +1 into your hand when you ride into her, letting you check the top 7 for a grade 1 Earnest Correct card. So, of course, there is a chance this could whiff and you don't get anything out of it, but it doesn't cost any resources, so potential free cards is always a good thing. And then she also has her continuous ability when she's on Vanguard Circle that says during your turn, if you do not have any rear guards, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So just a basic power up ability if you don't call any rear guards early, which a lot of the times you don't with this deck. So making her a 13k base on that first turn. So next for the grade 2, we have Accurate Interval Clarissa. So she has her auto ability that says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Serious Challenger Clarissa, you can Soul Blast 1 to look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and choose up to one grade 2 or less card with Earnest Correct and its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle the rest, and put them on the bottom of your deck. So once again, a very similar ability to the grade 1 Clarissa, letting you check the top 7 for a grade 2 or lower Earnest Correct this time. So less chance to whiff, since obviously you'll have more targets for it this round. However, it does cost a Soul Blast, so if it does whiff, you do end up wasting a resource. But Soul isn't too heavy in this deck, so it's not a huge deal. And of course you want as many skills as possible to get all your differently named Earnest Correct cards into your hand. So still can be a helpful ability. And then once again, she has her continuous ability that says during your turn, if you have no rear guards, this unit gets power plus 5,000. So once again, just a simple power-up skill if you have her all alone on your board. So then lastly for the grade 3, we have Earnest Correct Leader Clarissa. So yes, this is the one dress-up deck that is not using her new form in the ride deck. We're sticking with the original form. And that is mostly because of her first auto ability that says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle by riding on Accurate Interval Clarissa, you can Counterblast 1 to search your deck for up to one aim to be the strongest idol, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this ability only does work when you ride over the grade 2 Clarissa, and it does let you search out your very important combo piece of your normal order that you do want to be playing every turn. Which the new Clarissa actually allows us to loop that order now, which is extremely helpful. But this ability can help you get that initial copy of it into your hand to be able to loop it. So very important ability. It is a counterblast cost, which this deck can get extremely counterblast heavy, but being able to get that important combo piece is well worth the resource. And then she has her second auto ability that says when this unit's attack hits, you draw a card and choose one of your rear guards with Earnest Correct and its card name, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So aim to be the strongest idol will allow Clarissa to attack up to 3 targets at one time, So this skill can potentially go off 3 times in one turn, in which case you will get to draw 3 cards and give 5k 3 times, which you can either stack all onto one unit or spread them out, however you want to do. So, very nice ability. Most of the time this skill is only going to be used on turn 3, because on turn 4 you do want to Persona Ride into your DressUp form. So this is just a useful ability for that one turn, which earlier in the game you're obviously more likely to get more hits in anyway, since your opponent is more likely to let your Vanguard attack through at that point. So a helpful ability in terms of just maintaining your card advantage and upping your offense, which of course it is variable as far as, you know, how useful it is, since it depends on how many times you hit. But if your opponent has called out at least 1 or 2 rearguards, then you should be able to get at least 1 or 2 hits off of that, and 1 or 2 instances of this ability going off, since they would have to guard for each one of those attack targets separately. So in most cases you should get at least 1 usage out of this ability. So that is the Ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we do have 1 additional copy of Earnest Correct Leader Clarissa with her alternate art LSR. So I'm mostly just running this card for the artwork, honestly. The new dress-up form for Clarissa can discard a grade 3 Clarissa from your hand in order to pay the cost of one of her skills. So this can also be used for that cost. Most of the time you're not gonna Persona Ride back into this form. You can as a backup, but if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure that you have a copy of your order in your hand, because you won't be able to use the new Clarissa to get a copy into your hand to use. So yeah, riding into this is a less than ideal play, but it can be done once in a blue moon. But most of the time it is just there for that discard option. So next up we have 4 copies of Clarissa's new form, Holy Egg Festival Praxis Committee Chief Clarissa. What a name. But anyway, she's got her dress-up ability that has her name also be treated as Earnest Correct Leader Clarissa, which is extremely important since her original name doesn't have Earnest Correct in it. But this ability does let her still be treated as an Earnest Correct name, helping you get the 5 that you need for your orders ability. So then she also has her Activate skill that says once per turn, if you Persona Road this turn, this cost may be paid with a Soul Blast 1. And you can discard a grade 3 card with Clarissa and its card name from your hand to search your deck or drop for up to 1 aimed to be the strongest idol. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and if you search the deck, shuffle the deck. So definitely an extremely important ability, letting you loop the copies of your order back to your hand every turn, either from your drop or your deck, which, thanks to this ability, we have been able to reduce the number of copies of the order we are running in the deck, so that freed up some much needed space in this deck. So being able to use this skill to cycle that card back to your hand so you can use it every turn is very important. Now, if you Persona Ride into her on turn 4, which you can do thanks to the dress-up ability, then you can just Soul Blast 1 to grab that order on that turn. And then every turn after that, you will have to either Persona Ride into her again, or discard a grade 3 Clarissa from your hand. So if you have another copy of her in your hand, then it would make more sense to just Persona Ride into it to get those bonuses, and then do the Soul Blast cost. However, if you do have that 1 extra copy of the OG Clarissa in your hand, and you don't have another copy of her, you can just discard OG Clarissa to get your order back. So that is an option for that card as well. But with as much draw power as this deck has, and of course Regina's ability, being able to potentially search this card out, you should be able to pretty consistently Persona Ride every turn, and be able to do this skill with the Soul Blast cost. So then she also has her auto ability that says once per turn, when this unit's attack hits, you draw 2 cards, and all of your rearguards with Earnest Correct and their card names get power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So obviously very similar to the OG Clarissa's ability. However, this one only requires you to hit once in order to get 2 draws and power up your entire board, as opposed to just getting 1 draw and powering up one of your units. So this ability technically has a lower ceiling, since OG Clarissa, if they completely no-guard her attack, her skill can go off 3 times, giving you 3 draws and 3 power-ups. But this skill is once per turn, so even if you hit multiple times, it won't benefit you any. You only need the 1 hit, but you get 2 draws off the 1 hit, and you get to power up your entire board. So while maxing out at 2 draws as opposed to 3, this skill is still overall better, especially later in the game, when your opponent is at high damage and you know they're at least going to guard their Vanguard from her attack. If they don't have much of a board or something, then you could potentially not be able to use OG Clarissa's ability 2 or more times. So this has more potential later game to get you more draws and more power gain for less of a requirement. And since the earliest you're going to be able to use this ability is turn 4, by that point your opponent probably is going to at least guard their Vanguard against her attack. So ultimately just a more efficient version of this skill for that point in the game. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have 2 copies of our normal order, Aim to be the strongest idol. So there's no cost to play it, and you can play it if you have 5 or more units with Earnest Correct in their different card names. And its ability says until end of turn, all of your units with Earnest Correct in their card names get power plus 5,000. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you choose one of your Earnest Correct leader Clarissa, and it gets a new continuous ability that says when this unit would attack, you choose 3 of your opponent's Vanguard circles or rearguard circles, and this unit battles all of the units on the chosen circles. So this is the key card of the deck. You absolutely want to be playing this every turn from turn 3 onwards. You can search a copy of it out on turn 3 with OG Clarissa directly from your deck, and then you can either search another copy or loop the first copy back with the DressUp Clarissa every turn after that. So that is why we were able to drop this down from 4 to just 2, thanks to Clarissa's ability being able to loop it. But yeah, you absolutely want to be able to play this every turn, since basically your entire deck relies on this card going off. So it powers up your entire board, which is always nice, and it gives Clarissa the ability to do her multi-attack, hitting potentially up to 3 targets that turn. So it makes it easier for her ability to go off, can pick apart your opponent's board since you'll be attacking into their rear guards as well as their Vanguard, and overall just a extremely vital card for this deck. Now, it does require you to have your 5 or more differently named Earnest Correct units on the board in order to play this, but the whole deck is pretty much geared around doing that, and we actually have a new Earnest Correct name in this deck now, so we have more different options to be able to do that as well. So yeah, extremely important card, but I think 2 is enough now, since we can pretty easily get it when we need it. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Earnest Correct member Evelyn. So she has her auto ability. That says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand. If your Vanguard is Earnest Correct leader Clarissa, you can counterblast 1 to search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less card with Earnest Correct in its card name and reveal it. And if you do not have a rearguard with the same card name as that card, you call it to an open rearguard circle and shuffle your deck. So a very helpful Earnest Correct card, obviously one of the different names that you need on your board. And then you can use her skill to search out any other Earnest Correct you want from your deck that is grade 2 or lower, that you don't already have a copy of. So this one card can basically become the 2 different names that you need to get to the 5 to play your order. So very helpful card, helping you get your combo pieces. It is another counterblast cost, and like I said, this deck can get extremely counterblast heavy. But if you can't build your board, your whole deck basically bricks. So again, it's probably worth that resource. And of course, she is only an 8k base, but the order will bring her up to 13k. And if you can get Trilby boosting her behind her, then you still will be able to hit some magic numbers with that column. So yeah, overall, still a very, very nice card. So next we have 4 copies of Earnest Correct member Cataline. So she has her auto ability that says when the attack of the Earnest Correct leader Clarissa on your Vanguard circle hits, you can counterblast one and discard a card, and stand this unit. So again, very important card, different Earnest Correct name, and also a restander, giving you potentially a 4th or possibly 5th attack per turn if you combo it with the next card we'll be going through. But again, it is another counterblast cost, and it is also a discard, so you do have to go -1 to get that extra offense. But with Clarissa's ability, this deck pluses so much, it's not really too much of a problem. So yeah, very important offensive card for the deck. So next we have 3 copies of Earnest Correct Follower, Nekela. So she has an Activate ability that's active on Rearguard Circle or in your hand. That says if you have a Vanguard with Clarissa in its card name, you can counterblast one and put this card into your soul. To choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets a new auto ability until end of turn. That says, when this unit attacks, if you played Aim to be the strongest idol this turn, you choose one of your Rearguards and stand it. So this is the new Earnest Correct card we have in this deck now, so it is a different Earnest Correct name. So we have a total of 5 differently named Earnest Correct Rearguards we can get into play now, making it a little bit easier to get the 5 different names required for our order. And this ability also can help us get potentially a 5th attack per turn if comboed with Catalin. Now, again, this is another counterblast cost, so if you want to use both her and Catalin, that will be at least 2 counterblasts that turn. And if you had to use Evelyn or OG Clarissa's counterblast that turn as well, you're definitely getting into some high counterblast costs in one turn. So, can be kinda hard to have the resources to do all that. But if you can pull it off, you can get up to 5 attacks, since Catalin can restand herself. And this card can let you stand your other front row rearguard, which is most likely going to be Evelyn. Now, once again, it is still a minus to get that extra attack, since you have to put her into your soul. But you do get the extra soul resource out of it. And since this ability can be activated from your hand or your rearguard circle, if you already have your board set up with your 4 OG Earnest Correct rearguards, then you can just use her from your hand and still be able to get that restand ability. Or if you're missing a name on your board, you can call her to rearguard, play your normal order, so she'll count as one of your 5 names that you need, and then use her ability from rearguard to still shove her in soul and get that restand. So a very versatile and helpful card for this deck overall, even though it does make the deck even more resource heavy on the counterblast side. So that is all the grade 2s, moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of Earnest Correct Supporter, Trilby. So her auto ability says when your Vanguard's attack hits, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So she is just a 5k base, but your order will be bringing her up to 10k at least. And her own skill can give her potentially up to 15k, depending on how many times Clarissa's ability hits. And then, of course, Clarissa's own ability can possibly power her up even more. So this card can definitely be hitting for some pretty good numbers. And again, like I said, most of the time you want to put Trilby behind Evelyn for that column to still be able to hit some magic numbers. So yeah, just a big beat stick booster to have on your board. And of course, another Earnest Correct name. So next up, we have 3 copies of Earnest Correct Supporter, Leona. So her auto ability says when your other rearguard with Earnest Correct in its card name is retired during your opponent's turn, if this unit is on rearguard circle, you can Soul Blast one and discard a card from your hand, and put that retired card into your hand. So this is a protection ability to help you potentially get some of the different names that you lose off your board back into your hand. However, it's not the most useful ability in the world, since if your opponent has targeted retiring, they can just target Leona herself first, and her own skill won't be able to activate for herself, and then they can just proceed to pick apart the rest of your board. So it only helps in certain situations, like if you're playing against Bavsarga or something that can like only target your front row, then you might be able to use it in that instance to get some of your front row rearguards back to hand. But yeah, it's not the most useful skill there is. I did keep her in at 3 just because, you know, she's the Earnest Correct name that we need. But skill-wise, she probably is the least useful out of all the Earnest Corrects. So next up we have 2 copies of Definite Growth Regina. So she has an auto ability that says at the end of the battle this unit boosted a unit with Earnest Correct in its card name. If you have a Vanguard with Clarissa in its card name, you can Soul Blast 1 and retire this unit. To search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 or less card with Earnest Correct in its card name, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this is a very helpful ability, letting you search out any Earnest Correct card you want and getting it into your hand. So most of the time this is going to be used to search out your Persona Ride copies, so you can consistently ride into the DressUp Clarissa every turn, and loop your order card using the Soul Blast cost. So that is the primary purpose of this card. If you call out a rear guard Earnest Correct unit early and then put her behind that unit, you can use her skill early on to search out one of your key rear guards if you need to get an Evelyn into your hand or something. So that is an option as well, but most of the time I wait to use her till at least turn 3 and put her behind Clarissa, and then at the end of that battle you retire her and search out your Persona Ride copy to set up for the next turn. So yeah, this is the one rear guard in the deck that does not have Earnest Correct in her name, but that skill is so good that I think it's still worth running her at a 2 of. So the only other grade ones we have are our Sentinels. So first off we have 3 copies of Determined Cheerfulness Sarka, so just your standard perfect guard, as well as 1 copy of the Blitzorder Elementaria Sanctitude, which of course you can play without paying the costs if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that is all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 4 copies of Grinning Dragon Scale Ilze, which this is just your vanilla crit. Which, quick note here, this card actually is misprinted in her name. It's supposed to be Ilze with a Z, not Ilse with a S, which I actually didn't even realize when I made version 1 of this deck. But it's correct on the reprint from Lyrical Booster 3, if you want to use that version instead. But anyway, additionally, we have 3 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. The crit with a skill at the end of the battle like boosted, you can put it in your soul to give one of your units plus 2 key until end of turn. So you don't really use this skill much in this deck. Like I said, it's not super Soul Blast heavy, so you don't really need the extra soul, but it's there as an option if you need it, I suppose. So next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratois. So draw with a skill, if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So you're a 10k shield draw trigger. Then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Sigh of Relief Fabiola. So just the vanilla heal. Of course, if you want to run any effect heals, you can. And then lastly, our over trigger is Greatest Star Esperanza. So her additional effect says during this fight, you get, during your turn, all of your rear guards get power plus 10,000. So grants the skill to the fighter, powering up all your rear guards for the rest of the game. Always a very nice skill, especially when you check it early on. Again, if you want to run either one of the Nationless over triggers, you can go with those instead. Specifically the Eidos Faro, the blue over trigger. You can use it to cycle your order back to your hand as well. So if you want to go that route, you can, but I did just stick with the Lyrical over trigger. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And I think we'll fight Toya this time. And we will be going first. And I think I'm going to keep this hand, actually. Alright, so we'll discard that draw to ride. And we can use grade 1 Clarissa's ability to check the top 7. And we did find a copy of Trilby, so we'll add her to our hand. And then we'll just end our turn. And I'm gonna let that one through. Alright, so we'll discard... And we'll drop one of these trilbies to ride. And then grade 2 Clarissa will let us Soul Blast. And again, check the top 7. And we found Evelyn and Catalin and Nikella. But I'm going to add Evelyn to her hand. So then with that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and attack. And we get a critical trigger. Oh, but he pulled his over trigger. So that canceled out one of those damages. And then he gets a heal trigger that's actually wasted, because he has nothing to heal. Well, alright then. And he reveals 2 copies of Flint from his hand, and Superior calls a front trigger from the top of his deck. And I'm gonna let that one through too. Alright, so we'll discard that heal, I guess. To write Ernest correct leader Clarissa. And we'll use her skill to counterblast. And we will search out a copy of our normal order. Put into our hand. So then I'm going to go ahead and call Evelyn over here. And we'll use her ability to counterblast. And we will search out Catalin. And put her over there. And then we'll call Trilby behind Evelyn and Leona behind Catalin. And we'll pop Regina behind our Vanguard. And we won't be able to get the multi-attack ability off of this since he's only a grade 2, but I'm still going to go ahead and play Aim to be the strongest idol. Just to power up all our Ernest correct units. And unfortunately we don't have any face-up counterblasts, so despite having the setup, we'll still only be able to get 3 attacks this turn. But I am going to go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. And we'll get a draw trigger. So we'll give that power to Catalin. And since our attack hit one time, that triggers both her own ability and Trilby's ability. So Clarissa's skill lets us draw and give 5k to a unit, so we'll give that to Evelyn. And then Trilby will gain another 5k thanks to her own skill. And now we can use Regina's ability as well to Soul Blast and retire her. And now we can search out any Ernest Correct card from our deck. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab another copy of our DressUp form. Even though we already had one, it's good to have another. So let's see, then we'll go ahead and attack with Evelyn.
Vanguard にアタック。ノーガードだ。ダメージチェック。
And then we'll attack with Catalin.
ノーガードだ。
Hey, that's that one through too.
負けない。ダメージチェック。
So we got him to 4 already.
ターンエンド。俺のターン。ドロー。頂の天帝。バスティオンにライド。スキル発動だ。
And he reveals 3 flints from his hand. Wow. To draw. And he does play Pride to protect by discarding all those flints. So his grade 3s will have boost now. And Alden's skill let him call 1 and draw 2. And wow, he had all 4 copies of Flint in his hand. Alright, so we'll let that one through. And we get a heal trigger, which we do not get, but we do get the power. And let's see, I'll go ahead and guard, and we'll throw Leona in as well. And that'll be 2 to pass. And he got a grade 3, so he will get his restand, but no triggers. So he restands Spirar, which will let him Soul Blast and draw. And we'll go ahead and guard that one with that crit. And we'll let that one through. Alright, so now we can Persona Ride into our dress-up form. So then we'll go ahead and use Clarissa's Activate ability and Soul Blast for the cost. And we can add a copy of our order from drop or deck. So I'm going to grab the one from the deck, just to deck thin a little bit. So we've already got our 5 Earnest Correct names on the board, so I'm going to go ahead and play Aim to be the Strongest Idol, which powers up our entire board by 5k and gives Clarissa the multi-hit ability. So I'm going to go ahead and use Nakella's skill as well to counterblast and put her into Soul. And now Clarissa gains the Restand ability on top of that. So with that, I think we're all set up and ready to go. So we will go ahead and attack with Evelyn first, not boosted. And he guards. So then we'll attack with Catalin, again not boosted. He lets that one through. So now we can attack with Clarissa, and we can choose 3 targets for this attack. So let's see, we'll attack into Alden. We'll take out Spirar, and of course go after his Vanguard as well. And that triggers Clarissa's Restanding ability, granted by Nakella, so we will restand Evelyn. And he perfect guards as Vanguard, unless the 2 rear guards get hit. So since Clarissa did hit, we will be able to use her ability. And we'll get to draw 2 and power up our rear guards. So then we can use Catalin's ability to counterblast and discard 1. So let's see, we'll drop... And we'll drop that draw, I guess. And Catalin restands. And Trilby's skill got triggered twice since we had 2 hits from our Vanguard. So she'll gain an extra 10k in total. And we took out 2 of his rear guards. So now we can attack with Catalin, boosted this time by Leona, for 48,000. Oh, and he perfect guarded again. But he's only got 2 cards left in his hand, so now we'll attack with Evelyn, boosted by Trilby, for a whopping 53,000. Oh, and he's got to let it through. And we got him with that one. So there you go, that was version 2 of my Clarissa Earnest Correct deck. Very nice upgrade to this deck, like I said, it is a lot more consistent, and that extra boost to the offense is very, very nice. So anyway, I'll be back soon with more deck profiles. Next up, I'll be doing my last dress-up deck, which will be Felty Rosa. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.